Okay, hello everyone. Today we're here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in JustFlight's Piper Arrow 3. We have a 129 nautical mile flight from Papa November Echo, Northeast Philadelphia, to Mike Tango November, Martin State. We'll be flying IFR for this flight and flying a DME arc for our approach to Martin State. Should be a lot of fun, so let's hop into the pilot seat and get started. I know everyone missed Floyd, so he is back and will be joining us for this flight. As we get everything started up here, I will run through the pilot's brief. On the VFR map, you can see that it's a bit of a journey, and we're taking off from the Philly Bravo airspace and flying into a Delta at Martin State. On the IFR map, you'll see that we'll be using the Modena, Westminster, and Baltimore VORs, and primarily flying along the Victor 419 airway. In the comments for one of my recent videos, friend of the channel, Dixieland Farm, mentioned that he is practicing his DME arcs, and I realized I have not flown a DME arc. So I intentionally chose this flight to try one. Flying the runway 15 approach to Martin State using a DME arc using the Baltimore VOR. DME arcs aren't very common anymore because they've mainly been replaced by RNAV waypoints, but they are a way of self-vectoring yourself to waypoints that you would otherwise need to be radar vectored to. To fly one, you essentially orbit a VOR at a set distance as defined in the procedure, and then exit the arc at a set location to turn final. You can see under the words 2600 on the leftmost arc, the words BAL 14.7 arc, so that's telling me that I'm orbiting the Baltimore VOR at a distance of 14.7 as measured on my DME. The initial approach fix is SLOF, which is 14.7 miles from Baltimore VOR along the 334 radial from Baltimore VOR, as indicated on the radial intersecting the fix. To enter the arc, we'll fly along the 334 radial from Baltimore until we get to 14.7 DME, and then turn left 90 degrees. We'll need to lead the turn, so we're going to start the turn at 15.2 so we don't overshoot 14.7. And then we'll continue along the arc. Flying a perfect circle would be challenging, so to make it easier, we're going to break up the circle into a series of 10-degree segments. So instead of flying a circle, we'll fly a straight line along a heading for 10 degrees. Then we'll turn our new heading, fly a straight line along that heading for another 10 degrees, and continue doing that until we exit the arc. We'll use the CDI and heading bug to manage this while flying, so we'll start on 334 radial, and we'll have the CDI centered, dialed into 334. Once we make our 90-degree turn, then we'll adjust the CDI to 344, which will be the next 10-degree increment, and we'll watch for the needle to center up as we fly that segment. The heading itself is always 90 degrees to the radial that we're flying, and you get that just by looking at what's 90 degrees on the OBS. So the top is the radial that you're flying, and the 3 o'clock position on the OBS is the 90-degree heading for that. So we'll dial that heading into the heading bug and fly that heading. When the CDI centers up again, then we'll get the new 90-degree heading, dial that into the heading bug, and fly that heading. And we'll keep doing that, adjusting the OBS by 10 degrees until it centers up, getting the new heading, dialing it in, and flying it until we complete the arc. There are also altitude requirements to hit, but remember, these are defined by the radials, which define the waypoint, so as we pass those radials using the OBS, we'll know when to change altitude. When I googled this approach, I was amused to find that it shows up on many pilot websites under strangest instrument approaches in the US, and it was number 1 on the first website I went to. However, it could have been worse. We could have been number 5 on the list, which is an Alaskan airport that states right on the plate that a successful go-around is improbable due to the rising terrain of the runway, so no pressure on that landing. Alright, we're flying IFR, so we need to call clearance delivery and pick up our clearance. Northeast clearance, November 359 Golf Charlie, IFR to Martin State, ready to copy. Cleared to Martin State. On departure, fly runway heading, radar vectors Mike, X-ray, Echo, Modena, then as filed. Climb and maintain 2000, expect 4000 10 minutes after departure. Departure 123.8, squawk 3140, November 359 Golf Charlie. Northeast State Ground, November 359 Golf Charlie, Atlantic Aviation, ready to taxi. Taxi and hold short, runway 6 via Alpha, November 359 Golf Charlie. That pop-up there was for flight. Even the base subscription shows where you are at the airport, which is great for taxiing. I've got it streaming from my phone using screencast software, so what you are seeing is live. You'll see it pop up throughout this flight to show where we're at. Northeast ground, November 359 Golf Charlie, holding short, runway 6. Cross, runway 6, taxi, runway 15 via Alpha, November 359 Golf Charlie.
Max 1528, turn right heading 350. Max 1528, descend to maintain 2000.
RPM,
turn right heading 040.
max RPM. Flaps.
Northeast tower, November 359 Golf Charlie, holding short, runway 15. Cleared for departure, runway 15, November 359 Golf Charlie.
Number 5 ATR, climb to maintain 5000.
Approaching runway 15. Entered runway 15. 4,900 feet remaining.
Off to the 3000, cleared on at runway 33 approach. Number 997, turn right direct, slow mo, squawk 1121.
We are streaming live ATC from live ATC net for this airport, which is the way that I like to fly. The entire area around Philadelphia through most of the Bravo is photogrammetry, so we should have some awesome scenery for this flight. Coming up on 65 and rotate. And that took off really nicely.
Sierra, contact require, approach 16147. November 669, Quebec departure, radar contact, 3000. 9er Sierra Hotel, descend to 3000. Breakout 4760, right heading 070, on all plaza, descend to 2000.
Right heading 264, November 359 Golf Charlie. Okay, we've got our initial vector from ATC, so we'll make our turn here and get ourselves vectored to Modena.
East Coast Jet 80, Northeast Tower, wind calm, runway 33, clear to land, safe parking.
We're leveled out at 2,000. I am expecting 4,000 once they hand us off to Philly approach, so let's sit back and enjoy some of that awesome scenery. Okay, flying the DME arc turned out to be challenging. I managed to pull it off. The requirement is staying within 1 mile of the assigned DME distance, and I definitely wandered a bit there, but kept within that 1 mile. So that was the turn 10, twist 10 approach. Turning 10 degrees and then twisting the OVS 10 degrees to the next radial, and continually repeating that until you get to the exit point for your arc. So it's definitely a challenge. I had the benefit of also having a GPS that I could see the waypoints. To be honest, I didn't have time to look at it. I was fully task saturated as I was fiddling with the OBS nod and the heading indicator, managing my altitude by constantly adjusting the trim, keeping track of where I was. So there was a lot going on for that arc, and it was a really fun task. I recommend giving it a try if you like a flight challenge. So if you enjoy content like this, be sure to leave me a comment, click that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. As always, thanks a lot for flying along with me, and stay tuned for further flight adventures.